2025 has been the year of TikTok scares, unforeseen tragedies, comebacks, setbacks, crash outs, and the second reign of a ridiculously destructive administration. But it's also been another year of Gen Z taking over the cultural zeitgeist. As we're slowly becoming the dominant generation in the workforce and economy, it's only right that the entertainment industry wants a piece of our pie. So then comes the Gen Z TV show, which in my opinion is a TV show that largely depicts Gen Z life with the aim of targeting Gen Z audiences and usually having a lot of Gen Z influence in the making and behind the scenes of the show. In 2025 alone, 3 particular TV shows have been released that fit these parameters. Tubi's The Z Suite in February 2025, Prime Video's Overcompensating in May of 2025, and most recently FX's hit series that aired just last month in June of 2025, simply titled Adults. In this video, I of course want to discuss and review these shows, but I also want to take a broader look at the shift in interest and intention that the industry is suddenly putting on Gen Z and what possibly may be the real world implications of this shift. Beyond the critiques, we're confronting bigger questions. Are these new depictions hitting the nail on the head, or are they doing more harm than good? Is Gen Z calling the shots in these writers' rooms and sitting their behinds in a director's chair? And how are both our generation and broader society actually reacting and receiving these on-screen reflections? Do they truly acknowledge and even attempt to resolve the real-life challenges uniquely impacting society? Let's get into it. For years, we've seen shows about young people written by, directed by, and produced by older generations, leading to hit or miss accuracy, attempts at slang, overly dramatized storylines that feel extremely out of touch. That's because the people that were calling the shots were not living the reality they were trying to depict, with no active insight or perspective from those being depicted. I think the shift in this particular Gen Z direction really started a couple years ago with hbomax's Generation, executive produced by sister of the channel, the highly problematic, deeply troubled Lena Dunham. Go check out that video on my channel. The show wasn't just about Gen Z. It famously had a Gen Z showrunner, Zelda Barnes, who co-created the show with her dad, Daniel Barnes. It was definitely seen as a big move about authentic creative leadership from within the generation itself. Very admirable. Talk about impact. It makes me think of how Marseille Martin was like the youngest executive producer of her own movie or something like that. When a showrunner, key writer, or director is the same age as their characters, or has recently lived through those experiences, it obviously shows an unparalleled level of authenticity. They understand the slang without having to research it, the social dynamics without guessing, the anxieties, emotions, and aspirations without having to rely on stereotypes. I remember when this show came out and they definitely used Zelda being such a young showrunner as a big marketing ploy, a big marketing push to, I'm assuming, drive engagement, but also to really set the stage and see that Hollywood was showing that giving the authoritative bullhorn to younger voices is, to me, essential in capturing the real, raw, messy truth of how art reflects society, how art reflects life. I talk more about the show in this video, so go check it out. So the groundwork for authentic Gen Z stories is being laid behind the scenes. Bravo. But why the focus now in the 2020s? Is it because the natural progression of us just simply being next in line generationally? Or is it a direct response to the crazy turmoil of what living on Earth in 2025 is today? I don't think the hyper focus on Gen Z entertainment is a happy accident. It's a direct response to the unique, often overwhelming realities that we're currently navigating in this world. So why exactly is the wave hitting us so fiercely in 2025? For one, we're living through an unprecedented economic gauntlet, a post-pandemic world grappling with persistent inflation, a crushing student debt crisis, and a housing crisis. The promise of housing feeling utterly out of reach for a lot of people. Past shows often gloss over harsh financial and mental realities in place of love and friendship drama. But for today's time, 2025, the struggle is too real. And seeing characters have to grapple with current societal restraints is third eye opening. Okay. Then you have to look at like the political and social landscape, which feels perpetually on fire. The existential dread of the climate crisis. The exhaustion of fighting for fundamental human rights. The digital bombardment of global conflicts. Our generation has been politicized simply by existing. These new shows have the opportunity to reflect our activism, reflect our rejection of the past, and wanting to move forward and not doing what our parents did or settling for what our parents settled for. They have the opportunity to reflect our disillusionment, our varying perspectives on social justice and what social justice actually means for the people needing it, and just like the sheer fatigue in living in such polarizing times. I'd rather this than just showing us a politically apathetic or performatively engaged type of depiction. And of course, you know, mental health and the mental health crisis disproportionately affecting Gen Z. I think mostly because like we're able to put diagnoses and tags and labels on things that our parents might have not been able to do before. Allegedly, we're the most anxious, depressed, burnt out, always having to navigate the pressures of digital life, social comparison, and let's be honest, a extremely unstable future. I think for most of history, youth mental health in TV was extremely overly sensationalized or simply completely ignored. I think with Gen Z backing and Gen Z creators at the helm, shows can explore anxiety, depression, and the complexities of seeking help with the authenticity and nuance that they deserve, and validating experiences that have often just been dismissed. I think this why now isn't about like natural progression or capitalizing on a trend. I honestly think we're in a place in society where we need honest, multifaceted narratives that truly mirror the lives of a generation that has been uniquely shaped by multiple global crises, digital immersion, the pursuit of happiness and authenticity. The Z Suite is a Tubi original comedy series starring Lauren Graham of Gilmore Girls fame. Generations clash when the award-winning C-Suite at Adelaide Ad Agency is canceled and pushed out, and the Gen Z social media team is put in charge. Basically, in short, these older Gen Xers get fired from their executive roles at a fancy NYC ad agency and are unexpectedly replaced by these three entry-level Gen Zer employees. So it's kind of ridiculous and a little unrealistic. These three entry-level people are ridiculously, you know, taking over experience, highly regarded, lots of years to get to executive roles. The show also stars Nico Santos, who, unbeknownst to me until doing research for this video, is married to Zeke from Survivor, Millennials versus Gen X or whatever it was called. Small world. Also stars newcomers Madison Shamoun, Anna Basler, Spencer Stevenson, and Evan Marsh. The show is very unserious. It's silly. It's very much a comfort type of show. I don't think we as the audience are exposed to take it extremely literally. My personal favorite characters are 1000% Doug Garcia and two of the Gen Z team members, Clem Boyle and Elliot Spencer. Of course, all of my favorite characters are the gay ones. LGBT, sorry. They touch on the economic state of New York City with like the high cost of living. I think Elliot and Cleo share a bed or something, not even a room, not even just an apartment. They share a bed. I think they like have bunk beds, and then there's like a toilet in their room, prison style. Jokes about gig economy, side hustles. I think Cleo is a climate activist. They make a lot of jokes about feminism, and they definitely lean on the side of, you know, SJW, social justice. Activism! If I had to compare this to other shows, it kind of reminds me of the new television show Turning Point with Kate Hudson, Brenda Song, the guy from The Two of Us, and like a little like Devil Wears Prada with the whole like superiority, office politics, blah blah blah. Combine that show with that movie and then like crank up the Gen Z euphemisms, you have the Z Suite. The intersectionality is there. We have the LGBTs, the ethnics, imposter syndrome is touched on. I think the show is more so showing the performative side of the Gen Z experience that we see on social media and less so like the raw, real, messy truths, but it is a comedy at the end of the day. So I believe a big marketing ploy of the show was that the fact that it was starring Lauren Graham of Gilmore Girls, and I think they wanted to capitalize on the resurgent popularity that Gilmore Girls gets every couple of years, especially amongst Gen Z audiences. I know the Lauren Graham fans are going to drag me, but to be honest, I feel like Monica could have been played by anybody, any white legacy actress. Her character was fine. I didn't see any of what made it so that Lauren Graham needed to play this woman. Like I didn't really see any of the Lauren Graham euphemisms, like her comedic timing. I think she did fine, but I'm just like, if this was a big call for people to watch the show, like we want to see Lauren Graham, I don't think they really really suited her acting chops with the character, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think it was a good blend. It was just kind of like, okay. But I 1000% know that the check for her, you know, having the starring role, it was fat check, a lot of money. That's probably why she, you know, signed on to do this. The show has its high moments, but it's a lot of just jokes about Gen Z being spoiled entitled brats. Redditors do point out that the generational divide was dividing and felt a little disjointed. I did sludge through this show. I didn't watch it super fast, and I'll give the show a 6.5, 7 out of 10. I think the content was nice and fresh, but delivery was just a little stale. As of July 2025, the show has not been renewed for a second season. Overcompensating is an American comedy drama television series created by Benito Skinner for Amazon Prime Video and produced by A24. The show stars Benito Skinner, a comedian and actor known for his online persona, Benny Drama. The show follows Benny, a closeted former football player, as he becomes fast friends with Carmen, a high school outsider. With guidance from his older sister and her boyfriend, Benny and Carmen juggle horrible hiccups, flavored vodka, and fake IDs, navigating their freshman year of college. This show is loosely based off of Benito Skinner's own college experience. The show also stars Wally Barham as Carmen, Mary Beth Barone as Grace, the comedian Holmes as Haley, and Radio Rebel Global superstar Adam DeMarco as Peter. Reese Shaw of Miss Marvel, Do Revenge, and Sitting in Bars with Cake fame plays Miles. Also, Connie Britton, our queen Connie Britton from AHS, Friday Night Lights, plays the mom. And also Lucas Gage of Awesomeness TV, yes, that's where I know Lucas Gage from, and White Lotus make appearances as well. Now, before you get to commenting that this is not a Gen Z show, I'm aware. This show is clearly made by a millennial. It's kind of unclear when this show is set. It's assumed to be like the early 2010s, which makes sense because this was around the time where a lot of millennials were ending high school and starting college or in college. I still wanted to include this show in my like Gen Z TV show reviews because this is my channel and I can do what I want. And to me, with a lot of the humor of the show, I still feel like it targets Gen Z and younger audiences. You might catch references that feel a little dated, slightly millennial, like some of the music choices by summer 2024 queen Charlie XCX, who also serves as an executive producer and has a whole episode cameo. But I think the show captures an emotional authenticity that transcends a strict timeline, especially in regards to how similarly the Gen Z generations and millennial generations have a unique blend of cringe comedy, and also navigating LGBT experiences in the 21st century as social norms and ideals become more progressive. But that is a big talking point of the show. A lot of critics are just confused about when this show is setting place and who's it for, because it's kind of like a little, not all over the place, but we have Charlie XCX performing songs from 2014, but all the lingo being used from like 2010, but then like obviously it's 2025 Charlie XCX, so it's just like, it's interesting. And even though the setting is a little anachronistic, it either sits well with people or it's not, especially because a lot of the actors don't look like they're freshmen in college, and that bothers people. The bigger and more profound question though is not about Overcompensating's time period, but about its core. Who exactly is this for? Somehow the show manages to be both too gay for straight audiences and too straight for gay audiences. It's not current enough to hold a mirror up to Gen Z viewers, while it's arrived too late for millennials who have zero desire to relive their college days. It's simultaneously too self-serious to be a strict comedy and too surface level to contain any great dramatic heft. What we're left with ultimately is a show that is as confused as its repressed protagonist. Drag them Slade. So let's discuss what I think this show does well. The depiction of hypermasculinity. Benny's desperate attempts to perform masculinity to hide his true identity. That's not just, you know, a 2010s thing. It's a timeless struggle for many young people in general, and especially young LGBT people. I also think the friendship dynamic between Benny and Carmen is done well. It feels both incredibly real and complex. They're both outsiders clinging to each other, navigating the confusing, often embarrassing first steps of self-discovery your freshman year of college. They have that almost codependent, very intense ride or die freshman bond. I feel like this is another timeless depiction that, especially with a lot of Gen Z people going through college right now or coming out of college, will instantly recognize this dynamic. Friendship dynamics like this is often the strongest element of these coming of age stories. I also think the way pop culture, social media, and internet humor are woven into the dialogue and the personalities of each character is spot on. My favorite characters, and who I believe not only are my favorite, are the best characters of the show, are Haley and Grace. Haley's deadpan, just complete ridiculousness is actually so funny, and it makes sense that the actress is also a comedian, because I was dying laughing anytime she opened her mouth. Like, she's just, especially at the beginning, she's just, it's 100% from the very start. It's no build up. And Grace, who's Benny's sister, who I also think is played by another comedian, she had a great self-discovery arc that I'm glad they committed to and fully fleshed out, because I was scared they were just gonna like tease it and then never pick it back up again. Her whole arc was just surprisingly dimensional, which I think, to pack that in as a side character with an 8-episode 30-minute TV show, props to you, mama. I think for those two characters, their flaws, their vulnerabilities, the ridiculousness, it's all there. I had never seen or was privy to Benito Skinner's persona online, Benny Drama, and I honestly still have not gone back to watch it as I'm recording this video, but maybe editing me will, and we'll put my thoughts on here. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of criticism of this show is that people do not like that the cast doesn't look like the age that they're playing. Especially Benny, the main guy. Like, you can clearly tell that he's in his mid-30s. And he's supposed to be playing an 18-year-old, but like, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal to me, because he created this show, he wrote the show, like, obviously he wants to star in it. Let this man tell his story. Let him be the star he's always wanted to be. And I also think a lot of these people being close to 30 or over 30 kind of adds to the raunchy campiness of the show. I think this Redditor sums up my thoughts pretty eloquently, so I'm just going to quote them. It was very fun, raunchy, but also light and heartfelt at the same time. Just the right dose of actually funny comedy and drama. My favorite thing, though, is the lack of performative lecturing and political posturing. Stuff that typically plagues coming-of-age genres nowadays. It's reminiscent of college in the mid-2010s, when being gay was not some sort of taboo thing, but nor was it a whole identity cult either. The show displayed some stereotypes but didn't lean into them or embrace them, which was refreshing. Slate is saying they're not sure who this is for. Harley Flynn said, I enjoyed the show. I am a millennial, and so I'm not necessarily in the target audience's age range. I think this is supposed to target people between the ages of 18 and like 40, 35. Overall, I would give the show an 8 out of 10. I watched it faster than I watched Z-Suite, but not as fast as this next show. Adults is an American ensemble comedy series created by Ben Cronengold and Rebecca Shaw about a group of friends in their 20s experiencing adulthood in Queens, New York. A group of 20-somethings in New York trying to be good people, despite being neither good nor people yet. Over the 8-episode season, the housemates tackle capital R responsibility to varying degrees of success. The show stars all newcomers. Malik Elassel, I know I'm saying his name wrong, as Samir, Amita Rao as Issa, Lucy Fryer as Billy, Jack Inanen as Paul Baker, and my fave, Owen Thiele as Anton. Owen Thiele is also in Overcompensating, and he also has a podcast that I need to check out. He's very funny to me. In my opinion, this is my opinion! The show, it's just straight up comedy. No drama. I don't know if it's the recency effect, because I mean, I did watch the show more recently than I watched the other two. Like, it's fresh on my brain. I don't know if it's that, or it's really just that entertaining. I think the cast has such great chemistry, and they really embody what the characters describe the show as being, you know, like classic Gen Z group chat energy. Like, that is the best way to describe this show. Specific characters are so spot on. Like, you've either seen these type of people in your real day-to-day life, going to school, going to college, on a train, on TikTok. It's that liberal, progressive, transplant New Yorker who's probably supported by their parents but doesn't want anybody to know, loves everyone but hates being around people, has a false sense of confidence but has enough gumption to do and say some of the wildest things, but also prides himself on knowing the verse of Super Bass. The first verse only, nothing after the first verse. And I have to applaud that the creative direction here often feels like it's informed by lived experience rather than just observation. The writing feels authentic to the internal monologue and conversations had by this age group. And I think the cast does a good job of embodying that particular blend of earnestness and millennial adjacent cynicism that 1000% defines older Gen Z. The show often prioritizes strong, subtle acting over big dramatic outbursts, which is refreshing.
That's refreshing.
Which in itself reflects a very much Gen Z sensibility. And that's what I was saying earlier, like the characters in adults feel less like archetypes and more like specific individuals you might know or have come across. Your friend who's always striving for artistic validation, the one questioning every life choice, the one struggling with anxiety, the one that is like the girl from this most recent season of White Lotus who like is crying because she's so privileged and hates that she can't live like poor people or something. Very much that. It's like the empathy is there, but the awareness is not. I love it. I like how they touched on career uncertainty and having to piece together income from different sources. This mirrors the reality of the gig economy and the shifting career landscape where traditional paths are less defined. Conversations about finding your passion, clashing with paying rent. The show explores friendships and romantic relationships that are less about grand gestures and more about subtle complexities, unspoken expectations, and the difficulty of true emotional intimacy in a highly digital, somewhat detached world. It reflects the nuances of dating apps, casual connection, and the struggles, real life struggles to form long-lasting bonds post-grad, especially in a time where everyone is still figuring themselves out. A lot of the humor from this show, like when they were talking about earlier in the show description, like capital R and responsibility. A lot of the humor from this show comes from the friend being overwhelmed by incredibly mundane adult problems. The small everyday indignities of being an adult, medical debt struggles, like she gets like a $15,000 medical bill. Then she also like hosts a dinner party and serves raw chicken. That was very funny. I feel like I'd do something like that on accident. Absurd. Just absurdity of trying to like have a functioning household with friends that are as equally or more lost than you are. I think Adults excels at its relatable portrayal of existential dread. Go check out my last video. And the awkwardness that comes with early adulthood. Some of the best moments from the show was Billy's whole high school peak arc. It was so spot on because we all know somebody like that who like literally kind of did peak in high school, and to like further validate themselves, they keep going back to their old high school, wanting to feel superior every couple months, walking in, striding in, wanting to feel like the man, wanting to feel like they accomplished something. But at the end of the day, you're going there to seek validation. It's all rooted in, you know, self-satisfaction, wanting to go into a familiar environment to feel like you're doing something since leaving that environment. I don't know, like they ate with that, because I never understood why people did that, but now I'm like seeing the mental train of thought that goes into, you know, somebody who might have peaked in high school. I hope people who actually go back to their high schools every couple months with their Letterman jackets on, trying to rizz up their English teacher, I hope they see that and see how ridiculous they look. Performative activism was nicely depicted on this show. If you're gonna watch any episode of this show, I believe the best episode is Theracide. I was laughing out loud, audibly, like ha ha ha, like that was me. Sometimes I just like laugh to myself, like I was like aha! It was funny. That was one of the funniest episodes. And this is the type of show where you really don't need to watch it in order. Like I feel like you just start from episode 4 or 5. Like I don't think you need, it's something different each episode. It's not really like a continuing story, which I think is fun and fresh and flirty. I'm gonna give the show a 9.5. I think Issa's very annoying, but I think she's supposed to be annoying. And I also think Samir is a weaker character. My favorite character is 1000% Anton. I don't want to spoil it, but Anton and Paul Baker. Issa, Billy, Samir, I'm gonna have to give the show a 9 out of 10. I don't really have any notes. I think it's the strongest show out of all 3 of these. I think with shows like these 3, I like that we're moving away from like the Euphoria era of Gen Z youth TV shows. In my opinion, Euphoria and shows like it just 1000% trauma corn. I won't be watching season 3, thank you. I don't care if it's a time jump, I don't need it, thank you. And even older teen, young adult TV shows like Dawson's Creek and Gossip Girl, which I think completely missed the mark on like actual youth culture. It was very much that little bubble, and like I said, did not do a great job representing actual youth culture in the early 2010s from like an everyday perspective. I like that we're moving past the sensationalism of things like Euphoria and focusing on more nuanced, divisive, and intersectional portrayals. Let me know if you've seen any of these shows, which one is your favorite. I tried to do a spoiler-free commentary. I think I did a good job, but none of these shows are like, oh my god. They're mostly all comedic, and it's like there's nothing big, grand gesture, nothing you've ever seen before, flips, tosses, and turns. No, nothing like that. Let me know if you're not watching these 3 shows, what show should I watch down below. Next video should be Love Island. I'm still deciding if I want to talk about it. I know I made a community post saying that I would, and you guys voted on yes, that I should, but I'm watching the final episodes and I'm bored. Thanks for watching, and in the words of Anton,
ooh, he looks like he was molested.
What does Kyle's movement mean to you?
Me? Yeah.
We are Kyle.
I'm sorry?
We are Kyle?
At the shift in interest and intention. So the groundwork for authentic Gen Z stories is being laid out behind the scenes. And I'm on the pursuit of happiness, but the pursuit of happiness and authentic. What the heck is going on? Jeez. I need to move this over because I still can't see. Put in charge. Why are these people blowing leaves at 9 o'clock at night? Experiencing adulthood in Queens, New York. It's Queens, Brooklyn, and Yale, Wild, Bronx, Harlem, and Staten.